You're listening to Good Morning Gwinnett, a division of Noise Media Network, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, sharing stories about people and places around beautiful Gwinnett County and beyond. Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Southern living at its best.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, all my Gwinnetians out there in Gwinnett land and all of my friends around the world. It's a beautiful day here in Gwinnett County, 76 degrees, going up to a high of 85. Beautiful, sunshiny day. I've been outside already this morning. Got back in time to do the show, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today is Tuesday, May the 28th. Listen, I had a rough day yesterday. But thank you guys for just bearing with me, and thank you for all the well wishes and all the love. So I appreciate that I've gotten from around the world. Yesterday was tough, but today is better. I got through yesterday, and I thank God for that. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. It is Talk Business Tuesday, baby. We're going to be talking about whether you should start a newsletter or whether you should start a podcast. Yes. You know what's crazy? I have all of them. I have newsletters, I have blogs, I have podcasts. I have them all. My company is called Noise Media Network. So I have all of these things, but I wanted to just go through my take on certain things so you guys can get a clear understanding of where you may want to start. You know, both of those platforms are extremely powerful. But sometimes, you know, you can get a little confused about, should I start a podcast or should I start a newsletter? You know, is print better than podcasting? And I'm going to give you a couple of things to think about on both sides. And so this way you can make a good decision about what's going to benefit you and your company moving forward. Now, here's the thing. Everything I do when it comes to this kind of stuff is for my business. Now, if you're just doing something for fun, it's just a fun thing, and you want to waste time, I'm not going to say waste time, it's fun for you. If you want to do it for fun, then by all means, it still works. But, you know, this is for the people who are thinking about, okay, how can I either leverage this as a business or help this grow my business? And I wanted to share these things with you because I don't want you to waste so much time, you know, going back and forth. I've done that already. So I've wasted enough time for everybody. And I've been doing all this for a very long time. I've been in media for 24 years. And so I've seen so many things happen and grow. I remember when blogging first came out. The only thing you could blog on at that time was TypePad and Blogger. Like, people probably like, what the heck is that? TypePad was a blogging platform, and Blogger was a blogging platform that later I think got bought by Google. Nobody uses it anymore. I think you can still find blogs out there in the world on Blogger, but when I tell you they're probably useless, they are probably useless, because unless they have some really niche content on it that nobody else is writing about today, which is highly unlikely, because there's so much content out there. And so that's why that's why this talk is important for me to share with you, because I want you to kind of get a idea, like, okay, maybe I'll start here, maybe I'll start there. So the first thing I want to say is, before you even decide to go down this journey, down these paths, right, you need to be extremely clear about what your intentions are for either your podcast or your newsletter. And here's why I say that. If you know it's just for fun, then by all means, be as creative as you want to be. You know, there's no really rhyme and reason to what you're doing except for, I'm just doing this for fun. But if you're looking to monetize this and turn this into some type of stream of revenue, you want to be very careful about what you do. And the reason I say that is because I have a very niche podcast. This is a very niche podcast, right? My website is very niche. It's all about Gwinnett County most of the time, and I have struggled with that. Even my newsletter that I just recently launched, Gwinnett Morning Spark, I'm struggling a little bit with that, and a lot of my struggle is in my head. It has nothing really to do with the work that I'm doing. It's all in my head. I'm the first to say that. But what I realized about me, because I do struggle in my head, because my niche is so niche down, right? And I could probably niche all the way down further than that. Instead of doing a whole county, I probably can do just the town that I live in, which is Lawrenceville, which for me will cause me even more headache, because my mind does not niche down that much, right? So I struggle with my new. I have a ton of content out there, a lot. right? But I struggle with trying to articulate what it is I do in this space because it's so niche. Now, you would think that it would be easy, right? And I host a podcast called Good Morning Gwinnett. It's all about my community, where I live, blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, there's something not clicking in my mind, right? Now, that being said, it's okay. It's growing, but it has grown extremely slow because of me, not because of it, because of me. Because there are people out there who are doing podcasts in this space about towns, and they have blown up, but my podcast has not blown up, right? And I'm very niche, and it hasn't blown up. It's doing okay, but I want it to blow up, right? And so it hasn't blown up, but I think it has a lot to do with me. So I shared that with you because I want you to think about, what you're going to do. I could tell you right now, if I had stuck with just doing Talk Business with Audrey, I probably would be way more successful with just that podcast than I am with Good Morning Gwinnett. The reason being is because I talk about business all the time, and I'm extremely passionate about business all the time. And that podcast probably would have done great, but I wanted to be a contributing member to my community. So I did this podcast, and here's why I struggle. I struggle with this because I'm not outside enough in Gwinnett County enough to get all of the great stories that I could get. And I'm not out there is because I'm inside running my business, right? So I'm not out there enough. So I struggle with that. So when you think about starting a newsletter or a podcast, the first thing I want you to do is think about what my newsletter and podcast is going to be about, and how easy is it going to be for me to get the content that I need to produce these media platforms. That's so important. I'm not outside enough in Gwinnett County to get the necessary stories that make everything pop, right? I don't have a team of writers working with me so I can have these great, and this is my opinion. I have good content. I want great content. Let me say that again. I have good content, but I want great content. And that's going to require me being more outside in the community. All right. You need to think about exactly what it is you are going to write or talk about. How easy is it going to be for you to do that? Because if it's not going to be easy, if you're going to struggle, you're going to struggle. If you're going to get writer's block and podcast block, you're going to struggle. I suffer from that sometimes, and I struggle. Now, with business, not so much. Because there's so much happening in the business world all the time. New tools, new techniques, new strategies, new podcasts, new newsletters. All of this I could talk about all the time. And then I read all these different things and I watch all these different videos. So when people ask me a question, I can answer these questions most of the time because I have seen it somewhere. I have read it somewhere. I have heard it somewhere. So it's a lot simpler. But I did not know that when I launched Good Morning Gwinnett. It did not occur to me that maybe I should just stick with Talk Business with Audrey, which is the very first podcast I started in 2015. And I decided in 2018 to launch Good Morning Gwinnett because I wanted to be a member of my community, a contributing member of my community. And I did that thinking, okay, this is great. I'm going to talk about my community, and which is cool. I'm doing a great job at it. I'm doing a good job. I want to be excellent at it. Excellent. But it's going to take a lot more than what I'm doing. All right. So if you are thinking about starting a podcast or a newsletter, the first thing you have to figure out is what you're talking about, what you're writing about. The very first thing. That's the first thing. And then the next thing is how often you want to do this. Now, are you better at talking or are you better at writing? I'm like straddle the fence, right? I'm okay with both. I'm okay with both of those. So that's why they both work for me. Like I do the newsletter 5 days a week. I post on the blog 4 days a week, and I do a podcast 4 days a week. So I'm okay with all that stuff. You need to figure out which one are you going to be okay with. If you don't like the way your voice sounds, are you going to want to produce a show? If your writing sucks, there are tools out there right now that are great. So even if your writing sucks, get one of the tools, write your stuff, and then have it corrected in one of these amazing AI tools. A lot of them. They come a dime a dozen. They will fix your writing. If you want to write something and you know your grammar and you write like you talk, like me, right? Write it anyway. And then, hey, go to ChatGPT and say, rewrite this. And ChatGPT will, I do that. I write what I want to write out in my own voice because I write like I speak most of the time, which is not like the correct grammar half the time, which is fine because it's who I am. However, I want to put out good content, so I'll write it out. And then I'll go to ChatGPT and say, rewrite this. And ChatGPT rewrites it and it comes out amazing. And it's funny because I wrote something for someone. It was someone, in my opinion, they was having like a confidence problem, right, at that moment. And they were telling me why they couldn't do something, blah, blah, blah. And I felt like I should remind them why they should. Their resume is phenomenal. I'm talking about the resume. It's a phenomenal resume. Economic development industry, just a phenomenal resume. So I wrote out what I thought I wanted to say, and then I took it and I copied it over to ChatGPT, and I said, rewrite this. What was interesting, right? I sent the letter to the person, right? I sent the email. It was a response to an email, reply to an email. I sent it back to them, and they kind of threw a little bit of shade. It was like, oh, I see you use ChatGPT, as if I can't write like that. In my mind, but the reason they said it in my mind was because they were already having a confidence problem. The newsletter, the email was amazing. It just pointed out how amazing they were. And so I had my thoughts rewritten by ChatGPT and sent it to them. And the only thing they could say, instead of them saying thank you, because they had a confidence issue, I knew that already. They don't even know that, because instead of saying thank you so much, the first thing they said was, oh, I see you use ChatGPT. And I'm thinking, yeah, I did. Because if that's all you got out of that, then you got some work to do on yourself. I'm just saying. That person has some serious work to do on themselves, because they were amazing. They didn't see how amazing they were. They were fighting themselves. I wrote out what I thought. ChatGPT rewrote it. I sent it to them. And instead of saying thank you, they said, oh, I see you use ChatGPT. Yeah, but it's about you. It's not stuff that I made up. It's like stuff that I know about you based on your resume, based on your website, based on your LinkedIn profile. And I just wanted to remind you that you're great. But they couldn't even accept the fact that they were great. It was crazy. And I was like, wow, you can't the first thing you say instead of thank you is, this is what I did. But anyway, I digress. If you like to write and you're afraid, well, I don't write very well, write it anyway. Drop it in ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT to rewrite it for you. Now, ChatGPT, the new versions, can be very technical in the way it writes. When I first started using it, it was a little bit more humanized. Now I feel like it's very technical. If that is the case, if you go to ChatGPT, and maybe I'll do a class on that. If you go to ChatGPT, you can click on Explore GPTs, and there are writers, GPTs in there that will write like a human for you. So you write it out in Word, copy and paste it, go to ChatGPT, find a human writer in the GPTs, click on that human writer, drop in the text that you wrote, and then have it rewrite. That's all you got to do. Have it rewrite. And then you got your newsletter. Now, a newsletter comes with a lot more parts than a podcast. Doesn't have to, but it does. Now that you have discovered what it is you want to talk about in either your newsletter or your podcast, now you got to figure out which one you want to actually do. Now, with the newsletter, what I found when I look at newsletters, and I read a lot of them, most of them have all of these really different segments for this, segments for that, segment for that. It's like there's one newsletter that I read, and I can't think of the name of it. It doesn't have a bunch of segments. It probably has like 2 or 3. But what it does have is an article that's about 2,000 words. The article itself is about a 7-minute read, just that one article. It may be longer because it's so long, but you can tell that they go and do a lot of research to create that article. Now, that's something that could take you like a half a day to get the article, to get all of the research to put in that type of article. So you have to decide with a newsletter, what's going to go in the newsletter, how many segments, and then it could be something really short. Like I'm toying around with, like right now I'm going to launch 2 more newsletters. Why? Because I like the space. I have 2-3 podcasts. I'm going to have 2 or 3 newsletters. I like the newsletter space. I feel like I can grow faster there. And so I'm thinking about 2 other newsletters. And I know one of them is going to have 3 segments. Like my newsletter now has about 4 or 5 segments. Too many, in my opinion, for me. Because it takes a lot of work. It takes me about, well, not a lot. It takes me about an hour and a half to produce the newsletter with about 5 segments. I do have to go out and research and find like people I want to put the spotlight on and things like that. I have to go out and find those people. So I have about 5 segments. With my podcast, this is the difference. With the podcast, I have one topic, and that's the topic I talk about. Today, I'm talking about, should you start a podcast or a newsletter? So I don't have to segment it. I'm just running my mouth. Now, you might want to say, well, that sounds better to me because I don't have to do all that research. I'm going to research one topic. I'm going to get on there. I'm going to talk about it. Or I'm going to find one guest. My show is going to be based around, I don't know, whatever it is. You want to do agriculture, it's based around agriculture. I'm going to find amazing people in agriculture, and I'm going to talk to those people. And that's all we're going to talk about. Now, you got to find those people. So even though it's one topic or one person, you have to find them, and they have to agree to come on the show, and then they have to actually show up. So you have to figure that part out. Now, it's either better than the other podcasting or newsletter. Yes and no. Yes and no. They both are media platforms. They both could be extremely helpful to growing your business. But is one better than the other one? I'll talk about it. I'm going to go to a song, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about that a little bit. All right? And I'll give you my thoughts on that. The song that's playing right now is called No Matter What. It's one of my songs I made. Y'all know I'm making all these songs. AI, all day long, AI. I'm making all these songs with AI. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk probably next week about selling your AI music because I'm excited about that too. I'm going to play a song. I'm going to be right back after the song to bring you more of Talk Business Tuesday. Should you start a newsletter or should you start a podcast? Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
When the road is long and winding and the nights are cold and dark, when the dreams you chase seem distant and you've nearly lost your spark, no matter what, we'll keep on fighting. Through the storms we'll find the light. No matter what, we'll stand united. Together strong we'll win this fight. When the world is full of doubt and the shadows start to creep, when your heart is feeling heavy and the mountains seem too steep, when your heart is feeling heavy and the mountains seem too steep, no matter what, we'll keep on fighting. Through the storms we'll find the light. No matter what, we'll keep on fighting. Through the storms we'll find the light. No matter what, we'll stand united. Together strong we'll win this fight. Hold on tight, don't let go. We'll find our way, we'll let it show. Every step we're getting closer, hand in hand we're never over. No matter what.
Welcome back. That's my song, No Matter What. I got another one coming up shortly called Tiptoe. Listen, I love doing this. This is so crazy to me. Like, I really enjoy making this music. It's so funny because who the heck would have thought I could be making music? You know what's crazy? I think I might have told this story. Back in the day, my daughter's dad, he was into music, and I was a manager, of course. And this was before my daughter, so we talking about years ago. it never occurred to me then to be an artist. I probably could have been a good artist. I probably could have been a good rapper. Like, yeah, you know. No, I'm not really. Anyway, I'm back. It's Talk Business Tuesday. I'm talking about should you start a podcast or a newsletter. I want to talk to you about what my thoughts on both platforms, right? So once you have decided what you want to talk about or what you want to write about, now you got to determine, how often you want to do this. When I ended the last segment, I talked about the different parts of a newsletter. You can have a newsletter that has one part. You can. You need to be speaking to a very specific audience. So it's easy for these people to find you. Now, what I've been learning after I launched Gwinnett Morning Spark is that the newsletters that make the most revenue are business-to-business newsletters, right? And I'm like, okay, business-to-business newsletters. My newsletter is definitely not a business-to-business newsletter. It's more of a community newsletter, and then I throw in one segment of business in it. It's not business-to-business. So now I'm thinking, oh my God, I should have did a little bit more research. Now that I have gotten I think I got 20 issues out already, maybe 25 issues out already. I'm like, man, I wish I had thought about, doing a little bit more research. But it's okay because it's still a community newsletter. And I know a couple people that are doing great community newsletters, doing amazingly well, like $500,000, which I thought that was just crazy. And so it's okay. But I want to get to the multi-million-dollar level in my company. So when I think about newsletters, you have to have a B2B if you want to make the most money. Think about that. And then you need to make sure that you have either a long article or a very segmented newsletter. Now, the one thing about newsletters is that you don't have to write all the content. You can go and find really good stories and then kind of do a little summary and then to put a link back to the original story. That's called curating content, right? I don't curate hardly any content. The only thing I curate in my newsletter right now is like the events. And they're just like, hey, these are the events and here's a link to how to get to those events that I do. Everything else is written. But a lot of newsletters they go out and they scour the internet and find the best articles, summarize them in a small summary, and then they put them in the newsletter format with a link back to the article. You could easily do that. That's real simple. That's what a lot of newsletters do. That's one format. Or you can write really long form content and put it in a newsletter about a specific thing. Like I'm trying to think, I think it's either the Hustle or the Morning Brew. I think it's the Hustle that I read has this really long article, right, on like one specific thing. It could be something just, I think I saw something on, it was just something random. I'm like, okay, what does it have to do with anything? But that's a really successful newsletter. And the article is really long. Like it takes you like at least 7 to 10 minutes to read the article because it's that long. Or you can have an article, a newsletter that teaches something. Like there's a newsletter, it's a coding newsletter that I get. And every day he drops a coding tip. So if you're into coding, like computer coding, he drops a coding tip in his newsletter. It's not a long newsletter. It's a coding tip, and people who are trying to code or learn how to code, it's great for them. So it's like a tutorial in coding. So you have to figure out what that looks like, and that's how you structure your newsletter. With your podcast, you have to come up with your topic or your guest list. After you find your niche, like what you're talking about, who you're talking to. Now you got to create the list of content that you want to talk about or the people that you want to talk to on your show, right? So that's that part. Now, which one do I think is better when it comes to making money? Honestly, I really feel like newsletters are better. Here's why I feel like newsletters are better. Because I feel like you can grow your newsletter list quicker than you can grow your subscribers. There are ways to see your stats with your podcast, but it has been a struggle for me to grow the podcast as fast as I want to. With my newsletter, I figure once I figure out the B2B niche that I want to go into, all I have to do at that point is put out great content and start out with some ads. That's what I believe. So that's my belief. I've been doing Good Morning Gwinnett for almost 6 years, have not hit 7 figures. And one of the reasons, most of them is because of me, but the other ones is because it's not that easy, in my opinion, to make 7 figures with my podcast. Because it was all audio. and it's very hyper local. So I had all these things kind of like, okay, it's very hyper local. And then people got to understand what podcasts are. They got to understand that there's a too many parameters that for me is holding me back from getting to 7 figures with a hyper local podcast. Now, when I look at my newsletter, the one I have right now, I'm kind of facing the same issue. However, I have access to a database. Like right now, I have over 400 subscribers for the newsletter. I can see those subscribers. I can share that subscriber numbers with people because they're there. On my newsletter, on my podcast, it's how many downloads per episode, blah, blah, blah. Too many things. With the newsletter, I go into the account. I see how many subscribers signed up. I have over 400. My goal is to get to 15,000 in the next 90 days. When I get to that number, I know I'm going to be sitting on a little bit of extra money. Why? Because that is a good number. That's a good number. So for me, when I think about monetizing the podcast versus a newsletter, I think it's easier for the newsletter. I think it's even more easier when you have niche down to a specific niche. And so think about this for a second. Let's say, for instance, you were a tax preparer, right? Because they have very specific things. Now, as a tax preparer, you can talk to other tax preparers just starting out. You can talk to tax preparers trying to grow. You can talk to tax preparers trying to pivot into new spaces. But that newsletter is B2B. Understand what I'm saying? That is a B2B newsletter. Now check this out. Guess who can be a sponsor of the newsletter? It's a tax newsletter. QuickBooks, Intuit, right? FreshBooks, HoneyBooks, all the books, they could all become sponsors of that newsletter because you are talking to B2B people. Heck, I might start that. I don't even know anything about taxes. You're talking B2B people, and HoneyBooks and FreshBooks and all these books. We're like, okay, they're talking to our people. They need our software. This is a good newsletter. And you grow that newsletter, you can get one of those sponsors. It's B2B. Think about that for a second. I did not think about that when I started Gwinnett Morning Spark. Now, I love doing Gwinnett Morning Spark. I won't stop. It's not going to stop. I'm going to run ads to it. I'm going to do everything I just said to it. However, I'm definitely going to start a B2B newsletter. Definitely. I'm just trying to figure out where. And so when you think about what you want to do in this space, podcast is still very powerful. Video podcast even more so. Because now you have the video platforms, YouTube, which is owned by Google. However, you have to get guests, or you have to sit down and do your content and say, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about. And you got to go on video and you got to talk about it. Now, if you don't like being on camera, you got to get used to it. Wednesdays, I'm on camera talking about newsletters. Why? Because I'm figuring stuff out with the newsletter and I want to document that. I'm on video talking about that. So I'm talking about newsletters. And then on Sundays, I'm live streaming to Amazon talking about the books that I'm reading. Why? Because it's helping me build this brand. So all of that, I do a lot. Listen, y'all, this is why I'm not out in the community, because I'm here creating all this content. But I'm creating content, I need to make it make sense. I need to make it make sense. If I'm trying to get to 7 figures in the business, I got to make the content make sense. And I feel like I've been doing a good job, but I need to do a great job, and I need it to make sense. Money, and when I say sense, I'm talking about CENTS, sense. I need to make what I'm doing make sense, right? What I like about podcasting is a personal connection. You get to talk to people, and they get to hear your voice. Yesterday I was a mess, right? And I know people listen to my show from all over the world. And I couldn't help it. I wanted to get on there anyway. I wanted to wish my mom a happy birthday. I was a mess yesterday. But people get to kind of know me a little bit more personally, right? Newsletters, they can get to know you too. They can get to know you. It's just that now it's in their inbox. And it's going to live on that website. With my podcast, it travels all over the world. With my newsletter, if you're not on my newsletter list or going to the website, you don't get it. It lives in one space unless someone shares it with someone else and it travels. Podcasting is syndicated on all these platforms. That's a big difference. You have to sign up to get the newsletter. With the podcast, it's automatically syndicated. Let me say that again. You have to sign up to get the newsletter. With my podcast, when I do it, it's automatically syndicated. Apple Podcasts, Amazon Alexa, Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeart, Deezer, Joven, automatically syndicated. So when I talk, it's gone. With my newsletter, if you're not on the list, you don't get it. So that could be a con. Now, is it more directly to the people? Yes. But now you got to grow the audience. You got to grow the audience for both. But you get a little bit extra help in growing the audience with your podcast because of the syndication of the show. With the newsletter, if you run ads, you can syndicate your newsletter. That means you need to know how to run ads, though. If you don't know how to run ads, don't try to learn. Find somebody that already knows. It's going to cut the time in half for you to get the newsletter out. Because if you try to go out and learn how to do Facebook ads, trust me when I tell you, it's going to bite you in the butt. Now, yes, you can spend some time and really, really learn it. But if you think you're going to go up there and you're going to post an ad and you're not going to do that. I've tried it. It didn't work. I had to sit down, watch all these videos, learn how to run Facebook ads, and then it worked. I was doing it for a client and it worked well. She told me she had a lot of people coming to her business because of it. It stressed me out a little bit. I'm like, that's stressful. So, but I know how to do it. If you're going to do it, spend some time taking the classes. Spend the 13 hours, 14, 15 hours. It's going to take you to really learn Facebook. Otherwise, go on over to Upworks or Fiverr and find somebody and let them do it for you. I've done that as well, and they've done a great job. Hey, yeah, go in there and run this ad. I needed to run here, here, here. But then I learned how to do it, so I don't need that anymore. The other thing about both of these platforms is how consistent do you plan on being? You know, I do a lot of shows for a bunch of different reasons. One, I do Good Morning Gwinnett 4 days a week because I wanted to talk about stuff 4 days a week, kind of like radio. I don't do it on Fridays because I really want Fridays off, right? And then with the newsletter, I do 5 days a week, but I'm still off on Fridays, kind of sort of, because I do Friday's newsletter Thursday night. So Friday morning, I'm kind of free to move about. I don't have anything really tying me down unless I schedule a meeting. Now, I'm not telling anybody to do what I do because it's nuts. I'm not telling you to put out something 5 days a week. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is you got to be consistent. For both of those platforms, I'm extremely consistent. You got to be consistent because people are going to start to look for you. When you drop off, it's going to be a problem. They're going to stop looking for you. So you want to be consistent, right? Your newsletter, I like newsletters. I'm falling. I did a newsletter a long time ago. I just feel like it's so much easier, much more easier for me. I don't know. Between the podcast and this, I'm getting excited about the newsletter even more. I love my podcast, but I feel like there's a lot more creativity visually, and I feel like it's going to be a better way for me to create streams of income. Like I feel like my newsletter is going to give me at least 3 to 4 streams of income in one newsletter. I don't feel like that with the podcast. Now with video podcasting, maybe more, but I don't do that enough. Like I just recently restarted doing that, so I'm very inconsistent with the video. Very. I have to get more consistent with that, but I'm very inconsistent at the time. But I'm gonna get more consistent. I'm loving newsletters right now. So I love podcasting, but I'm loving newsletters just as much. So you just got to figure out, what you want to do. You got to figure out, if you like video, then do a video podcast. If you only want to talk, do an audio podcast. If you want to, if you want to do a newsletter because you like to write, then do the newsletter. If you want to do a blog, right now blogs are taking a hit because the algorithms keep changing. Like they change every day. Like it's nuts. So they're taking a little bit of a hit and people are really like stressing out. That's why newsletters are becoming so much more popular at this point because you own the list. So you're not at the helm of you're not at the mercy of the algorithms that's changing all the time because you actually own the list. Same thing with podcasting. You own the list. You don't own the list of podcasting. So you kind of at the mercy of your platform, your hosting platform, to see what your stats are. You know, how many people listen, where did they listen from? You can see the countries, you can't see the towns and all that kind of stuff. And there may be some platforms you can't. I can't see the towns on mine. I can see the countries, you know, the demographics and things like that. So, you know, you got pros and cons to both. You know, you got pros and cons. What I like about content creation in general is the flexibility that you have. You know, if you want to do it on Sundays, then do it on Sundays. If you want to do it on Wednesdays, then drop it on Wednesdays. I can tell you my B2B, I'm thinking about maybe 3 times a week, not 5. Maybe, you know, maybe 2 times a week. You know, the Gwinnett Morning Spark, 5 days a week, easily. My business one, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And the reason I'm thinking about it that way is because the more newsletter issues I put out, the more money I can make, because people can advertise and sponsor the newsletter based on an issue, which is like maybe like right now, if they were to sponsor Gwinnett Morning Spark, I put out 5 issues. So I might say it's $100 an issue, you know, so that's $500 from one person a month. And maybe I have 3 of those. So that's $1,500 a month. That's $1,500 a week, not a month. That's $1,500 a week because it's $100 an issue. Mine is not $100 an issue, you know, but that would be $1,500 a week if I did 3. And that's $6,000 a month. Yeah. So think about that part. And for me, that's a lot more attractive than downloads for my podcast and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot more attractive. And I love podcasting, but I just feel like newsletters, they're a lot more attractive, and you don't need special, you know, equipment. You don't need a whole lot of special equipment for podcasting either. Like I have a HP, and I have a microphone, a Yeti, and I use a digital mixer, and I use the Spreaker platform, and that's all I use. I don't have a whole lot of expensive stuff. With the newsletter, though, you just need a way to write newsletters, and you need a hosting company. I use Beehive for my newsletter, which I actually love them. It's easy to use. They have a whole lot of built-in support for you. They have a whole lot of ways for you to make money built right into the platform, so I love them. Beehive is B-E. Matter of fact, I should have put that in the show notes. It's Beehiiv. I like them. You know, I feel like with my newsletter, I can run ads and build a list really quick versus the downloads for the shows, because, you know, the shows, and this is for my show because it's a hyper-local show. Can I get out there and push out more content? Yeah, I can. Can I get out there and do other things to grow the show? I can, and I will. I just feel like it's going to take a lot more money and a lot more time for that. So, yeah, I just wanted to share like my thoughts on that. You have to decide which way you want to go. Newsletter, video, podcast. You have to decide. Just be consistent. Just make sure it's something you can love and commit to. If you're going to go for newsletters, go industry, B2B, you know. Don't do like me, because I started Gwinnett Morning Spark. Now I'm like, oh man, I should have went B2B. I should have gone B2B. Now I'm going to go B2B. I'm going to have another newsletter. It will be B2B. I don't know what part of B2B yet. I have to figure it out. It might be content marketing, B2B. I do a lot of it. Hell, I do a lot of it. So it may be that. I don't know yet. I have to figure it out. But you can decide based on the industry that you're already in. Even if you're in the industry, you might want to niche it down further. Let's say you were a nurse, you know, and you want to help other nurses start businesses, and you want to help critical care nurses start businesses, and you want to help pediatric critical care nurses start businesses. You see how far I just niched that all the way down? You were a nurse, then you were a critical care nurse, then you were a pediatric critical care nurse. Now, I have no idea what that looks like, but if you are a nurse, you could probably say, okay, I could figure out how to do that, because you probably could. You know, when you think about that, you got you're a critical care nurse, then you bring in, you want to help other critical care nurses, and not only just critical care nurses, you want to help pediatric critical care nurses. I niched it all the way down. There is an audience for you, and that is a B2B. So I don't know what that may look like for you, but just think about how to in your space what that could look like. How could you niche it all the way down? Like I right now, if I wanted to niche down with content media, right? I could niche all the way down to newsletter and podcasting and video, and just focus on, and then I can go all the way down to nonprofits. So I could do newsletter, I can do content marketing for nonprofits. I want to do that because they don't have any money to spend most of the time. If I'm going to do this in the B2B space, it needs to be an industry where there's money. Nonprofits always cry broke. Why do I know? Because I run a nonprofit and we always cry broke. That's because we always broke. I'm just saying, most nonprofits do not want to spend money because they don't have a lot of money to spend. That's not a niche I will go in. Now, somebody's going to go inside, they're going to do well. I'm not going that way. I'm probably going to be in the tech space somewhere. Text and media. All right, I got a whole lot more that's going to be in the article that I'm going to put on the website in about 30 minutes, so you can go and read everything. Like, I just skimmed through like some stuff, but I have a lot to share. And you can go to goodmorninggwinnett.com to just read all of the content that I got there. And I know I was saying a lot. I hope I wasn't rambling. I know I was saying a lot of stuff, and I know for some of you it's like, man, that's a lot. But if you are serious about what you're doing, if you're serious about building a business in the media space, you need to understand, what you're looking at. You need to understand like which platform is going to be better. If you know for a fact that you are not that person who, likes to get up and talk all the time, or if you don't want to write all the time, whatever it is, don't do that. I don't mind writing. I don't mind talking. I struggle with video. I'll do video, but it's like, man, I got to do another video, which means I got to make sure my hair looks okay. I got on the right kind of shirt. The light behind me is good. It's too many steps most of the time. That's why I've been extremely inconsistent. And I don't mind sharing with you that I've been inconsistent. I've been extremely inconsistent with that. I'm trying to get better because I know it's important, but my consistency sucks. So understand, whatever you decide to do, you need to be consistent with it because that's important. I'm very inconsistent. It shows in my numbers on YouTube, and that's what it is. But I'm trying to get better. The goal is to get as best I can with it and be more committed, all of that good stuff. So hope this helped. Whatever you do, start something. Whether it be a newsletter, a podcast, or a video channel, start something. Because if you're trying to build your personal brand and get your name out there, they need to see your face. They need to hear your voice. Start something. All right? All right, I'm going to my last song, Tiptoe. All my songs I'm making with AI. I got some songs in here that I love that were made by other people, but I'm trying to play my own music. And I'll tell y'all later why that is later on. I think I might have mentioned it, but I'll tell you later about it because I'm doing some great stuff with this stuff. With this music right now, I'm having a good time, and I'm about to start monetizing it. Anyway, that's another show for another day. Song is Tiptoe. I'll be right back after the song to give you my word of inspiration for the day, so stay tuned.
Take a step, don't need to leap. Navigating life's winding creek. Every moment a chance to find the treasures that we're meant to bind. Tiptoe, tiptoe through the highs and lows. Grace in every step, watch as confidence grows. Laughing in the sunlight, dancing under the moon. Life's a melody and with a tune. A gentle push, a soft land, dreams unfolding, oh they're grand. With each small step, the path gets clear. Moving forward despite the fear. Tiptoe, tiptoe through the highs and lows. Grace in every step, watch as confidence grows. Laughing in the sunlight, dancing under the moon. Life's a melody and with a tune. A gentle push, a soft land, dreams unfolding, oh they're grand. With each small step, the path gets clear. Moving forward despite the fear. Tiptoe, tiptoe through the highs and lows. Grace in every step, watch as confidence grows. Laughing in the sunlight, dancing under the moon. Life's a melody and we're the tunes. So let's tiptoe with hearts so light, through every day and every night. Each step a beat, life's sweet song. With tiptoes, we can't go wrong.
Welcome back. Tiptoe. Yes. Stop tiptoeing through life, baby. Don't stop it. Stop it. Listen, I'm loving this whole music thing. Like, it's so crazy because part of me wished that all I had to do was sit down every day and master. I had time to sit down every day and master this music thing. Like, I'm really enjoying this. But I don't have the time to sit and master it. I just don't. I would love to. I would love to have the time to sit and master the music and put out good music and get publishing rights and all that kind of stuff and put my music in films and TV. That's the plan. That's the plan. Just don't have the time right now. Hey, listen, before I go, I want to give you my words of inspiration. And this was pretty cool. It was in my notes and I don't even know why I put it. But it says, don't let the hard days win. Ooh, let me say it again. Don't let the hard days win. I don't know who said it. It was in my notes. But I had a hard day yesterday. But my hard day did not win. I still did the show. I still did the newsletter. I still did work. I worked yesterday. But it took me a minute to pull myself together. But the hard day did not win. Yes, we're going to have hard days. We are. Don't let them win. You can beat a hard day. You just got to stay the course. My cousin called me last night. And it's funny because he and I are like 2 years apart. And he's probably my only cousin that calls me, which is crazy. And we used to live right next door to each other when we were little, like when we were like 6 or 7 years old. And we've just been really close our entire lives. And he's an entrepreneur like me. And, you know, he's very motivated and he's very inspirational. And so he called me last night. He's like, cuz, I saw your Facebook post and I just want to call and give you some encouragement. I want you to stay encouraged. You can't, don't let it beat you. Our parents is up there, they're looking down on us. And I said, I know, but I didn't let the hard day win yesterday. It was a hard day, but I fought. I fought through the pain. I fought through the tears, and I made it out on the other end. I'm here today, and I hope I sound better, and I hope I sound more energetic, and I hope that the information that I shared is going to help you make a decision on whether or not you should start a newsletter or podcast. I got high hopes for today. High hopes. Listen, thank you all for listening. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you spent the last 47 minutes with me, and I love and appreciate you for that. If you missed any episodes of this show, be sure to go to goodmorninggwinnett.com to listen to past episodes there, and be sure to subscribe. Not just listen, but subscribe, and then share. Share with your family, friends, and your colleagues, your associates. If you enjoyed the show, share your episode. Also, be sure to connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn at Good Morning Gwinnett. That's where I am. All those platforms are Good Morning Gwinnett. That's where you can catch me. And if you listen to this on Apple Podcasts, be sure to subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to it. I appreciate that. Hey, listen, if you want to know more about the Gwinnett Women's Chamber, they have great opportunities for women in business. You don't have to be locally here in Gwinnett County. You can be anywhere in the world. We have virtual opportunities as well, virtual workshops, so you can be a part of our community. You have opportunities to market your business through our newsletter, interviews on this show. We give you a lot of opportunities. For more information about Gwinnett Women's Chamber, go to GwinnettWomen'sChamber.com. Hey, I'll be back again tomorrow at 10 a.m. God willing. You guys stay safe out there. Have a wonderful day. And until next time, my friend, until next time, make it a great day. Bye, y'all.
You've been listening to Good Morning Gwinnett. Make sure to tune in Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time to find out what's happening around Gwinnett. If you like this episode, subscribe now and share with your friends. To learn more about Noise Media Network, visit noisemedia.us.